Hey, how's it going everyone? Welcome to a video, and this is the brand new ZOIDS release from Tamashii Nations. Now this is the follow-up to the original release last year, which I have over to the side. This bad boy has been on display in my wife's office since his release, and he is looking awesome, but we're about to upgrade him. So yeah, we have at the back here, this is the changing armor set for Liger 0. And now this is the set of the armor. We don't have a base body, but we do have all the armor kits for the 3 different versions. I always forget their names, let's swing it around. Yeah, so the blue one we have the Jager Unit, Panzer Unit, and then the Schneider Unit. Personally, I'm a big fan of the Panzer. It just looks absolutely badass with the bulk, and then also the Schneider as well. The yellow, the orange, the blades, so cool. The Jager, definitely probably the weaker of them all, at least for me personally, but definitely let me know below which one is your favorite design. Now obviously, since this is just the armor, Bandai also at the same time put up a frame for pre-order as well. So this is the same frame as the original release, just with no armor. So if you want to display all 4 versions at the same time, you need to pick up the kit, which has the armor and 3 of the bodies. Now that is pretty pricey, but yeah, so I left out to my wife what one she wants, because she's the big Zoid fan out of the 2 of us, and she said just, you know, 1 extra body would be cool, and she eventually wants the Panzer and Schneider displayed with the blue, Jager, and then the base one here, having the armor displayed on the stand. So by the end of the video, that is how everything will be set up. Now we went over all the articulation for the base model in the original review, so if you haven't checked that out, I highly recommend it. I will link it below. So in this review I won't go over articulation too much, have a little bit look just as a brief catch up. It's pretty crazy with all the parts that move, like the claws pop out, it's so cool. I definitely love it. But we'll be mainly taking a look at the armor, and I'll switch this on and off the base body. So yeah, let's just get started. For now, I'll pop out the core, also the frame mode, and then we can have a look at what it does come with, just as a bit of a refresher, and then we can open up the armor. So if I swing it around to the side here, open. Actually, I should mention on the back, it does highlight what he comes with. Yeah, some cool photos, and points out some details on him. But for now, let's slide this out. There we go. And we also have the manual. So here we have the main body, and then the armor rack, and a couple of extra parts as well, including like the reactor and parts for the stand, which is nice. So I think we need to get craft knife, so I'll go get that in a moment. Actually need it for both. I'll go get a knife, cut all this open, and we can start popping it out. Okay, so I've got everything kind of open up now. We have the instructions. I just want to point out that the base that it comes with is the same as the original with the stand, so you can do aerial poses if you want. We also get the pilot, the cockpit seat, parts for the stand as well to cup underneath. We have the tail blaster, the power source which will slot in underneath, and then the back booster as well. So this one attaches onto here like so. So we do have the other parts to complete the armor. Now this part here from memory we can just slot in and underneath. Which way? I think like this from memory. Oh, I'll have a little play around with that in a moment. But at least for the other parts, we also have the armor rack. So this is pretty cool. So it's very basic and standard. So this just sits down and we clip the armor on. So we'll take the original release in a moment. We'll take the armor off, attach it onto this. We also get 5 different clips as well, which we can place on wherever we want. I'm not sure what we'll use these for yet. They are optional, but I guess we'll see where we need them when we attach the armor to this. Maybe it kind of depends on which armor we are placing on. since some other ones have larger parts. So yeah, I think before we take all the armor off, let's check on the cockpit for this, as well as the additional parts like the reactor, and then we can strip down the other Zoid. Okay, so to slot in the reactor, we do have the area underneath, but to get access to it, for it to allow it fit in, we have to raise the neck up. And while we do that, we can kind of check out the cool articulation it has. I love how the spine parts all move around the neck as well individually, which is awesome. I think that should be enough though. We can lift this up and out of the way. So one thing about this which is cool is the joints are nice and you know, tight. They move really well and they hold their position, but it can also be a little bit annoying if you need a little bit of a minute movement to get in. But once you have it up and out of the way, you can easily access, and then we can move the neck back down. So super easy to do. And then for the cockpit, we should be able to open this right up and you can see inside. So one thing to point out, in the instructions, actually I'll slot it in, it does say sold separately for the batteries. However, if we pop the top off, we can actually see it does have batteries, I believe, and we can just pull the tag out, and then that will initiate the light straight away once you switch it on. So yeah, that confused me the first time I got the original one where it said, yeah, battery sold separately, but no, it actually already comes with them, which is really cool. So keep that in mind. I mean, I haven't had issues with batteries and storage personally, but I do know over long-term storage, and especially for older items, you know, you can get the batteries leaking. So that's one thing to be careful of if you do want to store. But I think brand new, you shouldn't have any issues. We can slot in the seat as well. There's a little bit peg there, so that just slots in, and then yeah, keeps it nice and tidy. Once you have that in, then you can slot the pilot in like so. So you have the two options there with the pilot and the cockpit seat. But if you're just going for the visor closed and you want as much light as possible to come through, we also get the clear version. So this one will just slot in like so as well over the peg, and then actually if I pop this off, turn the light on. So having the clear one allows all the light to come through, so you can easily set in the eyes, which is cool. But at least for this one, I'll be going with the basic cockpit setup. So let me switch that over now. So the other accessory that we get is the gun. One thing that is, I think this one here, yeah, there we go. These things actually go in and out. That is so cool. I mean, I touched on this with the original one, but the fact you get these little parts that you can actually play with, you know, the thing that I really love about the Chogokin line, definitely a lot more interactive than a lot of other figures. But anyway, we can just slot this in underneath. It has a peg. Let me just align it correctly. Here we go. So there you go. Now you have the gun attached underneath. Before we do strip down the other one, have a quick look at the articulation, just in case you did miss the early one. One thing that is cool is the claws do pop out. I think it's underneath here you grab, and it will flick out the claws for each one of the paws, which is awesome. We get the ankle movement, the elbow joint. The top part will swivel up and down as well. Onto, actually I'll pop the gun off now. So you've got a couple of different joints in here which will move on, so it does give you a huge range of motion. And a little bit of swivel in and out, which is great. And yeah, a lot of die cast of this. He is weighty. We also get the similar motion for the back hind legs. We will get 1, 2 main points of articulation of upper part. The top kind of I'm not sure what you even call it, hip part will move. The ankle, the knee, so lots of motion there. The tail has lots of points of articulation all the way through, which feels really nice to move all the way around. And then coming into the main torso area, yeah, get left and right swivel, so up and down, so really good spine motion as well. everything feels really firm and tight. So it's one thing, like over time it will loosen up a little bit, especially the more you play with it. And you kind of have to hold them in the right way. It's a little bit fiddly leaning over how I am at the moment. But for a more full in-depth look at the articulation, I do highly recommend checking out the original release. But anyway, enough of playing with this inner body. What we'll do now, we'll get the original release with all the armour, strip him down to his inner core and attach it to the stand. Okay, let's start popping these bits off, starting with the under armour. A little bit fiddly. Okay, that's popped off, and then we just attach it onto the matching piece on the front. So one thing that is really cool about this is the armour comes off and essentially attaches on in the same orientation as the body. So for most part, just match each part as it comes off. And I think this one kind of goes in here. Yeah, that should be it. So yeah, it's really cool how essentially we kind of get the Liger or the ZOID form on the rack as well, even if we don't have the inner armour. So we have the fully stripped down core here now from the original release with all the armour transferred to the rack. And it's really cool. I was a bit worried it might be a bit unstable, but surprisingly it's pretty good. I mean, it has a good centre of gravity with all the weight in the centre, and we have some wider parts on it which do give a bit more stability. So overall not too bad. But as we can see, each individual part of the armour comes off and it has its own location on the rack where it can attach. So you've got the ones for the head, the boosters, the tail gun, the undergun, the wings, the front and rear leg armour parts as well. So yeah, overall really easy to attach and it looks really cool. So nice and simple. And now that we have two frames here ready, what we'll do, I'll clear out some space and we'll start opening up the armour kits. With the 3 additional armours, we'll chuck the blue on one, take it off, put it on the stand, and then we'll have the orange and green one set up as well. Moving over to the armour kit here, so as we saw before, on the back we do have a nice selection of images showcasing the specs as well. This was the same for the original release, where it had all the specs for the base Liger 0 as well, which is really cool. But I'm definitely digging the art for this. It looks really cool with all the missiles photoshopped in there as well. Yeah, it's really nice toy photography photos there with the figures themselves. But anyway, let's pop it open and we can check out the contents. Oh, we've got a couple of different packages here. Alright, so we have another one of the stands. This is exactly the same as the one that we just saw. And then we got 3 additional blister packs with all of the armour sets. The manual that we get, it lists of obviously the contents that you get, as well as instructions for attaching the armour and then also storing the armour on the rack. So we get that for each of the 3 different versions, which is nice. And then on the back also the same instructions as the last one, which showcases moving the base white Liger armour onto the rack. And then for the actual packaging we have a nice layout. This looks very similar to the base Liger one as well, where it's separated with kind of like the front with the side, the top and the back parts kind of going in that order. Man, these blades are looking cool. But yeah, can't wait to put this on. This is looking awesome. And then the base himself, the Panzer one, man, that's actually got a bit of weight in there from that gun. Looking forward to getting this on. But first, as we mentioned, we'll put these 2 off to the side and we'll crack the blue one open and chuck it on the ZOID straight away. When putting the armour on, I highly recommend checking out the instructions. It is in Japanese, but the numbers are pretty clear. So obviously following all big block letters for the steps, so we can attach the first part on in a moment. But I also want to highlight that for the other steps, when you have multiple parts, it will have them, so there's 1 in the circle, 1, 2, 3, and then I think the other ones doesn't matter the order. Or maybe it's this part first, so 1, 1, then 2, 2, then the third one on top. If you follow that order, you shouldn't run into any issues with attaching the parts. So if we get this aligned with pegs, it should just slot straight in. Maybe push this down. Now that one part is on, let's jump to the completed version. Adding the final touch now by putting the booster on top. If we align the peg up, it should just slot straight in. And boom, there we go, complete. This is actually looking a lot better. As I mentioned, it's probably not mine or my wife's favourite out of the 3 armour kits, but actually in person it's looking really good. The contrast between the dark blue, the light blue is lovely. All the printing of the decals is nice. Yeah, the armour itself is cool. One thing that I didn't realise is these parts actually pop out, so we can slot the blades out on the upper arm and legs as well. So that's cool. And this should pop out. How does that actually work? Okay. How does this work? This slots out, I think. There we go. Each wing slides out. That is so cool. I know. I love the fact that you can move one part and it will move other sections in this. One issue that I have had though is the top part here. For some reason it struggles to pop in. I had it connected earlier, but it kept kind of popping off. So I did put a little bit of blue tack in there, thinking maybe it'll help. Haven't noticed too much of a difference. Once you do get it, it's okay, but I found it will come off easy. So I'm not sure if the other kits will be the same, if it's just this one, but that's the only issue I've found so far. And there is one tiny nick on the paint on the armour here, so I might actually contact Bandai for a replacement part for that. But other than that, everything else on this one is perfect. Just yeah, this one head part is a little bit annoying, so hopefully the others aren't as bad. But yeah, overall though, besides that, really cool finish. And looking really cool. So yeah, what we'll do now, I'll take this off, I'll chuck it on the rack and then put on the orange armour on this one, and then the green armour on the other frame, and then we can do the final thoughts for the 3 armour sets. It's been many hours and a lot of fun transforming these, putting all the armour on. For those that want to see every step by step, I do apologise I didn't film that. Would have been a very long video if I did. So just main point I just want to highlight is how badass these are. First off, this guy Panzer for when enough is never enough and you always want more firepower, and then obviously Blades of Death. So starting off with a Panzer, let's have a little wee look at him. He is a hefty boy with all the arm. There is so much going on. Let's get in a little bit closer. So each one of these gun compartments open and close, so he's got rockets scattered throughout his whole body everywhere, including blast supports on the back to clamp him down so he doesn't go flying away. Though these ones are actually quite fiddly. That's one thing about this guy, since he's got so much going on, it is a little bit more fiddlier compared to the other figures. So that's one thing to keep in mind, and we'll kind of cover that in the pros and cons for this. That he is a little bit more fiddly. Well, actually both of these are actually, but man, no matter where you look, there's more guns, more missiles just scattered throughout him. The top part as well. Let's kind of get this in closer. So as I mentioned, on the top part we've got the guns that open and close. That shows all the rockets as well, and like when you move one part it lifts them up, so that's cool. But the main part I want to show is the metal I guess mount for the giant guns, so you can swivel them up, twist them in and out. Everything feels so solid, so it's definitely a nice addition of having the die cast and metal parts in this. It does add a little bit more weight and heft to this figure, which is already feeling beastie as is. Moving over to the Schneider, we have the same die cast metal part in the center here for the wing blades, which will come in and out. At least on my one it is quite stiff, so you do need to put a little bit more pressure on there to move them, but you can swing them up and around. Eventually, it might be easier to take the whole thing off and adjust it and then put it on, but this feels really solid. A little bit looser, would have been a bit more user friendly though, but as you can see, all the different blades swing in and out. Actually, I didn't quite put that on properly. Let's slide it back in. So just like Panzer, the Schneider has so much going on. We've got twist and swivel. The printing and painting on these blades is lovely as well. The bottom ones all move around. The top one will come up. Basically, oh, I'll pop that off. Actually, let's turn the light on while we have access. So fiddly. Okay, that's on. Okay, there we go. So yeah, I mean, if we swing around, the armor parts for this one here, we have like the front parts, the top, we've got the back main blade wings here, got all the armors down the bottom, and then we also have extra blades on the claws or just off the feet there, which is really cool. The back part here will also close and open, and that feels really smooth, with some nice pink coming for the engine as well. So yeah, overall this is probably my favourite. It is hard to pick between this and the Panzer, but I think the blades and the colouring plus this orange, he's definitely probably my pick of them all so far. Moving into the final thoughts now, we start with cool, cooler, badass and badass. Obviously this is going to be a personal preference for everyone for which armour you like, and it's nice that we can actually switch them around. So I think that's a huge pro with this. As we get the stands, you're not limited to just one body, and buying basically the same, well, we'll core with the armour 4 times, which would be very expensive. So the way they've handled it is quite nice, where you can buy the additional base and the core, and then you can attach whichever frame you like. Now, the original one obviously came with the white armour, and then this time picked up one additional frame and then the armour set. I did ask my wife if, after playing with these, if she wished she'd bought another couple more of the inner core, and she's like, no, I'm happy with just these two because they look so badass. And I kind of agree. It's actually nice having a background display for the other armour, and then just having the inner cores for these two, which, oh man, the amount of, I guess, kind of detail, a little bit of gimmicks on these is really cool. Now obviously these two, you know, when you, lift them up or pull the wings out of the side, the engines lift up. And this one here as well, you can lift up the back part, the rockets lift up. And again, for this one here, all the different wings or blade and wings all move. So you get a lot of interaction with each part, and then that will interact with another part, and I think that adds a lot of fun to it. And you know, it really does show how cool the Chogokin line is, especially with the die-cast parts like those claws, how they pop out. And these are like really fun to play with, because each time you play you kind of know something new, or you know, you open this compartment, you know, shut this, move this, and it's cool. And it has really cool articulation. Now coming into the cons, price, I did mention earlier in the pros, it's kind of a pro how you don't have to buy 4 complete sets, but even with just getting the base core and then the armor, it is pretty expensive overall. So that is one of the cons, but looking at what we get, I can understand the price point. I feel like maybe the armor sets could have been a little bit cheaper. I was on the fence in the first place with the price point, but to be honest, seeing how much you get with the Panzer and the Schneider, I think pretty cool, especially with the gimmicks on how all this opens up, and then you also get one stand. So it's not bad, not cheap, but I feel like it's pretty reasonable and fair for what we are getting, all things considered. Now the main real cons though is that they are quite finicky. As we saw a couple of times, some parts fall off easy, some parts are a little bit harder to fit on. You know, the armour would have been cool if it was, you know, all die cast, but again, the price, weight, yeah, I guess we probably couldn't have gone that extreme, but a few more die-cast parts here and there could have been nice. Maybe some weathering as well to give them a bit more of a battered, war-torn look. Because obviously these do all look very pristine. It's cool when they're on the stand, but the Panzer here, Schneider, you kind of want a little bit, maybe dust or a bit more dirt and grime to be a little bit more realistic. So weathering would have been nice. But yeah, I'm not super informative on ZOIDS. So if there's anything I've missed, I do apologise. But at least from a I like ZOIDS. Always have enjoyed, but I've never been deep, haven't watched series or read anything like that. I just always thought they looked badass. And from that standpoint, these are really nice, and definitely glad my wife was keen on picking them up. So if you are a ZOID fan, I think you'll love these. Obviously you've got two sides of a coin there if you like making the model kit sets, or you just want the toys. If you love making the kit sets, maybe the HM Chogokin ones are the way to go. But if you just want something out of a box where you can attach some of the parts and have a good play around and have something that looks cool after that, then these are a great option. I highly do recommend them. Even more so if you're already into the Chogokin line. So yeah, that is it for this look. Not so much a deep review, but box opening and setup for the new ZOIDS from Tamashii Nations in collaboration with Takara Tomy. So anyway, again, if you enjoyed, drop lots of comments below. Let me know what you think about these and which one is your favourite. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, cheers!